G'day guys, how are we going? Even the kookaburras think it's pretty funny. Well, how are we going? Well, so I've, since I loaded up the video there, you know, showing you guys all the new gear that's gone on the back of my Patrol with a brand new layout. It's absolutely fantastic how it is now. So a few people have now asked if I could make another video and just showing you without all the gear in it. So go through, you know, the procedures and what I've used and how I've gone about making it in a bit more detail. So we're going to do that. So come around the back of the Patrol here and I'll show you the new layout from scratch with anything in it. Let's go and check it out. It's pretty cool. Righto, we'll get in the back here and show you what's going on in here and how I've gone about making all this. So let's open the doors. Only got one wheel carrier now to open. And here's the back now without any gear in it. Now, it's just such a good layout now, and all I've done in here is all the pretty much the platforms all through here. I've just used 12mm ply and then just put a nice carpet over the top of it just to, you know, sort of protect it and make it look great, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And then in the front here, I've just got an aluminium strip. Bought all this just from local hardware, Bunnings, wherever you want to go. Just an aluminium strip there and just sprayed it up in a matte black just to make it look pretty good, but just gives that protective edge. If you just got the carpet there, eventually it's going to wear away and, you know, get knocked around. So the little edge strip there works well on that. Then right in the back here, where the cargo barrier used to be, what I've got there now is that's just a piece of security door mesh. So I just went down to, you know, my local screen door security door mob down here in Warragul. Bought a sheet of mesh which they put into their security doors, and that's now in the back there. So, and what I did to sort of be able to get it to shape up, I used the old cargo barrier as a, you know, bit of a template, and then marked it all out, taped it all out before I cut it, and that was how I was able to get such a sort of a good fit in there with all the angles and all that sort of stuff. But oh God, I don't know how many times I check, measured and that sort of thing, and make sure you know, cut once and check once, twice, 10 times, just make sure you get it right before you go and cut that mesh out. But it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's lightweight, weighs absolutely nothing. And you know, I even toss up the idea, you know, whether I put a mesh or cargo barrier of any sort back in there again. But I do like that idea of it being divided and that sort of thing. Gives you, you know, something to put stuff up against, you know, put hockey straps around, and, you know, because my table goes in the back there, put an hockey strap around that, and that'll hold that nicely in place. And then the big thing in the back here is these tie down points. Now again, just went to local hardware and just bought, you know, they're just a big metal steel loop there with a threaded bolt in the bottom. Got the same thread as what was in the holes there before. Now they're the holes for where the dicky seats used to screw into. So I've utilised those spots now and got two really solid, or four actually, two on each side, really solid tie down points. And you know, there's no way knowing they're gonna pull out of those spots here at all. And now I've got to get a good solid strap over the top of the boxes and crank that down nice and tight, and nothing's going to move around. And then just in the bottom of the mesh here, I've just got a number of steel clips that just wrap around the bottom of the mesh there, and they're all screwed into the ply. Now what I also did with the screws, even in these two, in the edge strip here, and same with all those, I dipped the thread into some liquid nails before I screwed them in. So that way it just gives you know, a lot more bite, a lot more grip, and once those screws are in, well, they're just not going to come back out again, because feeding them liquid nails, it's amazing stuff, and what it sticks down. So that's pretty much the layout there. And then just one last thing here is, you probably can't see it too much in daylight, but is the LED strip lights that I've now got on the back, one on each side here. That lights all this area up inside here, absolutely fantastic, rather than just now relying on the little standard light, which is pretty much useless at night. Nice, easy to get to, switch there to get to, turns those on. So that pretty much covers this back area. We'll go in there because there's a fair bit going on there and what I've done with there and how I've designed that. So we'll go in the corner here and we'll show you that. Righto, so here's in the back here, as you can see, you know, some big changes have gone on here now. The seats have been removed. So this is the platform now that I've got in here, and when I went through the initial design stages in this, I was kind of thinking, you know, I might carry, you know, this platform level all the way through, which I did have it that way. Then I thought, you know, I'll have all this storage underneath, you know, I can put some gear under there, and I started looking at what gear I had, and I thought, you know, what can I really put under there to really take full advantage of all that extra storage under there? And I really didn't have it. So So that's where the design then changed to what it is now. So what I've got here, I've still got a bit of storage, you know, where your feet used to sit here. I've still got a bit of storage there where, you know, log splitters and axes and tent poles and those sort of things can slide under there, so maybe some tools, whatever. But this is pretty much the setup that I've got here now. So I've got this step in it here, and these tie down points, I've got the 4 tie down points here on each corner of where the fridge is. And they're actually bolted in, they're not just screwed into the ply, because if you just screw them down into the ply, well, by the time you crank your fridge up and tie them down, they could pull out. So these won't pull out. So what I've got with these, they're actually bolted through. So they go right through the ply, and then underneath each of these tie down points, I've got a bit of steel plate with the holes through that, and the bolts go through that with some locking nuts underneath them too. So there's no way knowing they're going to undo, and the bit of steel plate just gives it a bit more reinforcement, you know, so it makes them nice and solid too, so they're not going to come out at any stage soon. And then in the back in here with this step down, I've sort of got this bit of a void going through here, so I've got a lot of wiring going on there, wiring there for the fridge, wiring for the oven there. That all goes through the back here, so it's nicely secure, out of the way, you can't see it, nice and safe. So that works well in there. And then under here where the seats used to be bolted down to, I've got 2 bits of ply, which is the same stuff as this, and I've bolted down 2 bits of ply, sort of about so long, in each of those points there where the seats used to be bolted down. And then this top deck is now screwed down into that, just to give it a bit more bracing, so they're screwed into that ply. But it's also nice and tight, nicely wedged well and truly underneath the centre console there, so it's not going to come out, and then goes in under there too. So, you know, this is nice and solid, and there's no way it's going to come out. So also what I've done here, I sort of wanted to make it as semi-modular as I sort of could, just in case, you know, one day might want to put the seats back in again, somewhere down the track, you know, reverse it all around, go down to Vic Roads, put the seats back in. So what I've done here, this top section here, just got to take that cover strip off, the aluminium cover strip. This plate here, it's just jammed in solid, nice and tight. Just got to pop that out, and then this top panel here, so I've got a join line going down here between that top of that step and the back platform here, which goes in the back there. So this just comes out, and then this top deck, just take the few screws out that's holding there, this top deck then lifts out, seats can go back in, and all that stays. I might have to do something with the rack there for where the oven's sitting, but apart from that, everything else would stay there. So I sort of made it semi-modular just in case, and, you know, all that then out the back there can stay there. Just this section here comes out. And the other thing too with creating this step down, you know, as I've sort of showed you, this is just one of my jerry cans. You know, that now sits up there nicely. You know, I've got the other one there at home with the tap and the hose and everything on it. This is just my backup one if I'm going on a longer trip. So they sit nicely on that ledge there, you know, nice and flush, so they're not sticking over. They slide in behind the fridge there, slides underneath there. And that ledge there is just perfect now for my water storage. And the other thing too with the fridge now where it is, by putting that step down, because it's such a, you know, fairly heavy sort of item, gets that, again, lower centre of gravity, because if we had it before, you know, with that platform coming right across here, you know, just had that fridge sit up a bit higher, the lid was going to be a bit higher, a bit harder to get into, whereas now it's just perfect where it is, lower centre of gravity, gets it down, you know, nice a bit lower, so much easier to get into. And then in the back here, pretty similar arrangement, you know, to what I had before. Just got my inverter up there with a 4-pin power board, you know, where I just plug in, you know, my batteries for my laptop and phone and camera and that sort of stuff while I'm driving along. They can just sit on this ledge here. You can charge my camera batteries, you know, on that ledge there while I'm driving along. And then the old pie oven, you know, it was going to go back there. That was always the original plan. You know, I wanted it back between the seats again. Great spot there, but you know, by the time the fridge goes in, and then to have the pie warmer mounted there, so I could get to it easy access, it just killed all this front storage here. So now I've got, you know, right across there, chainsaw box can go in there, my swag can go in there, or both. I can strap them down. I can run a, you know, tie down strap right the way around, loop it right the way around, tie it all down nice and tight, or, you know, up and over and hockey strap back to the mesh there. So that's why now the pie warmer's gone up there. Still a great spot for it, easy to get into. Just open that side door there, and there we go, into the pie warmer, and absolutely love it up there too. So that's pretty much my setup. And probably one last thing I just want to mention here with with these tie down points I've got in the back here, the points here, under these two at the end here, I've got a bit of steel plate, drilled a hole in, screwed these tie down points on top of that steel plate nice and tight, so they're cranked down nice and tight. Put a bit of a bend in, a bit of a bend in the plate, so it sort of wraps over the mesh here and makes that nice and tight, so that's not going to come out. It's just so tight down there. It's all mounted nice and tight, and I've used the same mounts there that you held the other cargo barrier up the top there. It's a pretty simple setup, but it's a very effective setup, and that's what you've got to get around and try and work out, get it all set up to what's going to work for you, and this is absolutely going to work, an absolute treat for me. Can't be for everyone I know, because if you've got kids and that sort of stuff, or families where you can't ripping seats out and do this sort of setup, but you might be able to do some of it. So in the day, it's what's going to work for me, and that's what you guys have got to do. Get your setup that works for you, not for anyone else, and that's absolute key. So this is going to work an absolute treat for me going forward, and there we go. So I think I'll go home now and get this packed up and head out in the bush, I reckon. So there you go, guys. That's my simple setup, my customised back of my GU Patrol here. Pretty keen to see what you guys have got, but until then, I'll catch you out in the bush someday, I reckon. See you later on. Hooroo.